This wasn't supposed to be the moment that shook Washington. On paper, it was just another Senate oversight hearing. Lawmakers asking questions, officials giving rehearsed answers, cameras rolling, headlines waiting to be written. But what unfolded between Cory Booker and Kash Patel turned into something far bigger. It was raw. It was personal. And by the end of it, the question hanging over the room wasn't just whether Patel had answered honestly. It was whether he could survive the political storm now closing in around him.
The court denied a news outlet's bid to get that transcript, but the court said quite clearly that you are free to discuss your grand jury testimony. So I ask you again, did you testify before the grand jury that President Trump declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago classified document case?
And that is why I took your invitation to work with the department and the court to have that transcript released. And the transcript is the best evidence of what I said then.
So you're saying right now this committee can have access to what you said before the grand jury?
To whatever was released. Under my understanding, Senator, that the Department of Justice...
You and I both understand the law. Let me finish. I understand under Rule 6 of the Federal Rules of Procedure, a grand jury witness, in this case you, is not barred from sharing their grand jury testimony. This is an oversight hearing. This is germane to your integrity and credibility. You know right now whether or not you testified that President Trump declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Why are you refusing to answer that simple yes or no question right now?
Because the premise of your question is inaccurate, and
there is no premise to my question, but trying to get to an order of what is truth or not.
How do you How do you know what was asked in the grand jury if you weren't there?
Mr. Patel, this is a mockery you're making of this hearing and simple questions.
It's a simple question. If you have
Mr.
a
Patel,
transcript,
during
you can
your
read
nomination,
the question, but you don't have it.
You promised that, quote, all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. When I asked you, are you aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents or personnel associated with the Trump administration, you explicitly said under oath that you were not aware of any plans to punish FBI agents associated with criminal investigations of Donald Trump. I don't believe you were truthful. Firing FBI employees based solely on the cases that they are investigating, their case assignments, is illegal, and you know that. A new lawsuit that's been discussed numerous times, filed by 3 FBI officials, alleges that you carried out Donald Trump's campaign of retribution, in quotes, against FBI employees for, quote, failure to demonstrate sufficient political loyalty. One of those plaintiffs has been discussed today, Brian Driscoll. Now, we know 20 years of distinguished service to the FBI before you terminated him. Special agent in charge of FBI's Newark field office, where he operated with distinction. Medal of Valor winner, Shield of Bravery awards. He's a patriot. You terminated Driscoll via a letter dated October 8th, 2025, and in that letter you said that you were firing him pursuant to Article 2 of the Constitution. Well, you're not the President of the United States, and so I'm wondering under what authority you were allowed to terminate him.
That matter is under litigation, and I'm not able to discuss it.
Okay, well, discuss this. Did you have discussions with Stephen Miller about firing this particular person or about his continuance in the FBI?
Not that I recall.
How often do you speak to Stephen Miller?
Frequently on our Homeland Security task forces.
You frequently talk with Stephen Miller about subjects other than Homeland Security task force issues, correct?
I frequently talk to Mr. Miller about Homeland Security task forces.
Has Stephen Miller ever given you his opinions on how to run your agency?
Mr. Miller's interagency operations are invaluable to the FBI. That's what we talk about.
So you frequently discuss your job and your responsibilities with Stephen Miller and Pam Bondi, I imagine, as well.
Absolutely. She's the Attorney General.
Understood. Okay. Donald Trump promised to make us all safer. You have pushed out senior FBI agents with decades of knowledge and experience. In fact, this is the first time in FBI history that neither the director nor the deputy director have any experience with the FBI. You've shifted the agency's priorities primarily to pursuing Donald Trump's immigration enforcement agenda. According to ICE data, the Cato Institute, which is a conservative think tank, found that 20% of all agents have been diverted from their work to assist ICE immigration enforcement. 20%. Part of this operation is the work of mass law enforcement who jump out of cars, snatch people off streets at churches, schools, and their jobs and hospitals. Have there been any FBI agents who investigate crimes against children that have been assigned to immigration enforcement, yes or no?
The premise of what you say is entirely
Have there been
false.
any FBI agents
No,
who investigate
no.
foreign domestic terrorism?
You don't get to say the America is not safer under this
I am
leadership.
not saying
America
that.
is
You're
safer
making
because of the work of the
presumption-
FBI.
You're making a presumption
doing.
of premise.
4,700 children.
Sir,
we have
you
seized 6,000 weapons and
you are not
23,000 violent
denying
felons have
that
been
FBI
arrested.
agents who investigate human trafficking have been reassigned to immigration enforcement. You are not denying that FBI agents who are on the task force that fight against Russian oligarchs have not been reassigned. Public Corrections Squad reassigned. People who defend children reassigned. You're not denying that. I've seen you
FBI
time and
agents
time
don't
again
get reassigned.
attack my colleagues' premises of questions as a way to not answer the question. So let me end with this. I believe you have made our country weaker and less safe. I believe that we are more vulnerable to a major event, and I pray to God it doesn't happen. You've gutted the Bureau of Institutional Knowledge and Expertise. You fired or pushed out seasoned FBI officials, many with more than 20 years of experience, and were working on cases that were critical. You've been purging thousands of serious law enforcement officials who spent their careers keeping us safe, only to lower hiring standards in order to find anyone to replace them. And shockingly, you admitted in this hearing to Senator Coons that it would take 14 years to fill the vacancies at your agency. Many are the result of your purge. 20% of FBI agents are doing low-level immigration enforcement instead of their mission-critical work. You've disbanded entire task forces that stop election interference, foreign influence, public corruption. And who benefits from this? Well, corrupt people benefit from it. Criminals benefit from it. Vladimir Putin benefits from it. And it really makes me wonder who you're looking out for. It makes me think we can't trust you as a nation. You swear to release the Epstein files, but now you're withholding the Epstein files. You claim that you have a suspect in a serious assassination. Whoops, then you don't have a suspect. You know nothing about plans to remove FBI agents, yet you're directly involved in those plans. In the words of an ex-FBI official, you are overseeing, and I quote, generational destruction of the nation's premier law enforcement agency. Mr. Patel, in just 8 months, you have assaulted the institutional integrity of the FBI. But I know FBI field agents. I've worked with them in Newark. No matter how truly bad you are, you can't undermine the legacy of agents who fight every day to keep us safe, but you can tarnish the integrity of the agency and undermine the agency's capacity. I believe you're failing as a leader, and that your failure does have serious implications for the safety and security of Americans and our families. We're more vulnerable to domestic and foreign attack because of your failures of leadership. I don't think you're fit to hand the Bureau, but here's the thing, Mr. Patel. I think you're not going to be around long. I think this might be your last oversight hearing. Because as much as you supplicate yourself to the will of Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States of America, Donald Trump has shown us in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose. This may be the last time I have a hearing with you because I don't think you're long for your job. But I'm going to tell you this, I pray for you. I pray for you that you can step up and defend your oath, defend the Constitution, and do a much better job of defending this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do you want to say anything?
Yes,
at this
sir.
point?
That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If
You're
you
gonna
want to
lecture
talk
me
about
dividing this country,
It is
I
my
follow
time.
you on your social media posts, that
It is
tear
my
this country
time
apart.
to
There
address
should be a
your
unifying-
falsehoods.
Oh,
You are an
you can try
embarrassment
all
to the
you
division
want
in this country.
to not
Senator,
take
it is
my
responsibility
time.
for what
You
you
had
have
your
said.
time.
Sir, you're
Your
making a
time is
mockery of this
over.
committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
You
The
know how
people
far
of New
we've
Jersey
come
tell me
since
what my
you
time
tell-
is.
Senator-
You can't lecture me.
You can tell me
Sir,
my
you
time's over?
You may be the charge of the
I'm not
FBI,
going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Senator Booker, I announced at the beginning of this meeting that this back and forth, talking over each other doesn't work. And I said if that happened, I asked Patel not to respond, and I was going to give him some time after the senator's time was up to respond. And he has the privilege to do that uninterrupted.
Mr.
So
Chairman,
go-
one point of
Go
order.
ahead, Mr.
I've
Patel.
watched him talk over us, and you've never once criticized him for us not even being able to get our questions out.
Well,
He has been rude and disrespectful to senator after
and-
senator.
And when the senators were not giving him a chance to answer, I didn't stop the senator either. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the FBI, under my 7-month leadership, were failing this administration in this country, why do we have 23,000 violent felons arrested this year alone? A 200, a double increase from that time last year. Why is it that we have seized 6,000 weapons? Why have we found 1,500 child predators and arrested them? Why have we have 300 human traffickers in jail? Why have we found and identified 4,700 children? Why have we seized 1,600 kilograms of fentanyl, enough to kill a third of the American public, a 25% increase alone from last year? 88,000 kilograms of cocaine seized, 7,000 kilograms of meth seized, and that's just on our criminal operations in summer heat. How is it possible that we are taking 8 kilograms off the streets of the cities in New Jersey and preventing the deaths of 607,000 people this year alone, a failure of the FBI and my leadership? How is it that we have counterintelligence arrests already this year exceeding the numbers from the entirety of last year? 33% increase in PRC, 83% in Russia, 60% in the CI space as it relates to Iran, and we haven't even talked about CT, the southern border, the northern border.
Before Senator Cruz, I kind of feel like a broken record today. All this interest in FBI termination, yet my colleagues showed no intent or interest in.
For nearly 2 hours, the hearing simmered with tension. Then Booker lit the fuse. He accused Patel of dodging, misleading, and undermining the very institution he now leads. Patel fired back, shouting over Booker in a clash so intense the chairman had to step in. And once the dust settled, one thing was clear: this wasn't just oversight anymore. This was a warning shot in a much larger war over truth, power, and the future of the FBI. Booker came in prepared, and from the start, he made it clear this would not be a routine exchange. He wasn't interested in broad talking points or vague promises. He wanted answers about one thing above all else: credibility. The first major issue he raised was Patel's past testimony related to the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Booker zeroed in on a simple but hugely consequential question. Had Patel previously told a grand jury that Donald Trump had declassified the documents at the center of that case? It was the kind of question that could be answered with a yes, a no, or a direct clarification. Instead, Patel refused to engage in the way Booker demanded. He said the premise of the question was inaccurate. He pointed to legal procedure. He implied Booker was mischaracterizing the facts. But he never gave the straightforward answer Booker was looking for. That refusal immediately changed the mood in the room. Because in a hearing built around trust, dodging a basic question about your own past statements can feel more damaging than the answer itself. Booker knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't just asking about old testimony. He was building a case about a pattern. In his view, this wasn't an isolated moment of caution. It was part of something bigger, a habit of saying what's politically convenient, then hiding behind process when challenged. And that's why he quickly moved to the next line of attack. During Patel's confirmation process, Booker had directly asked him whether he knew of any plans to retaliate against FBI agents involved in investigations connected to Trump. Patel had answered under oath that he was not aware of any such plans. He had also promised that all FBI employees would be protected from political retribution. Booker reminded him of those exact assurances. Then he held them up against what had happened since Patel took over. What Booker laid out next was the heart of his case. He described what he called a sweeping purge inside the Bureau: veteran officials pushed out, experienced leaders sidelined, and career agents suddenly finding themselves targeted. At the center of that argument was Brian Driscoll, a respected FBI official with more than 2 decades of service. Booker didn't just mention his name in passing. He detailed his record: Medal of Valor, Shield of Bravery, leadership in one of the Bureau's most important field offices. This was not some low-level bureaucrat. This was the kind of person the FBI had long held up as an example of institutional excellence. And according to Booker, Patel personally signed off on removing him. Patel tried to shut down that line of questioning by saying the matter was currently under litigation and that he could not comment on it. Legally, that may have been a safe answer. Politically, it was disastrous in the moment. Booker seized on it. Because from his perspective, this wasn't just about a personnel dispute. It was about whether Patel had misled senators to get confirmed and then done exactly what he said he wouldn't do. Booker pressed him on conversations with senior White House advisor Stephen Miller. Had Miller influenced personnel decisions? Had Miller offered opinions on who should stay and who should go? Patel said he frequently spoke with Miller about homeland security matters, but denied recalling specific conversations about Driscoll. To Booker, that sounded like another carefully crafted dodge. Then came the most explosive allegation of the entire hearing. Booker referenced claims from a lawsuit filed by former FBI officials. According to that complaint, Patel allegedly told Driscoll in private that he believed some firings were likely illegal, but said he was powerless to stop them because pressure was coming from the White House and the Justice Department. That allegation is just that, an allegation made in legal filings, and Patel has not admitted it in this hearing. But in the room, the impact was immediate. Booker used it to paint a devastating picture. A man at the top of America's premier law enforcement agency privately acknowledging legal concerns while publicly defending the actions anyway. That moment changed everything. Because suddenly this wasn't just a partisan clash over priorities. It became a fight over institutional integrity. Booker argued that Patel wasn't simply making management changes. He was weakening the Bureau's core mission. He said seasoned officials with decades of experience had been removed or pressured out. He argued that key investigative units had been hollowed out. He warned that the loss of institutional knowledge could leave the country more vulnerable. In Booker's telling, the consequences were not abstract. They were immediate and dangerous. He pointed specifically to the diversion of FBI resources toward immigration enforcement. Booker said thousands of agents had been reassigned from high-priority investigations to support operations focused on deportations and street-level enforcement. He asked whether agents who investigate child exploitation had been pulled into those efforts. He asked whether personnel focused on foreign influence, domestic extremism, and organized crime had also been shifted. Patel repeatedly objected to Booker's framing, calling the premises false or misleading. But he often chose not to directly answer the specific yes or no questions. And every time he did that, Booker leaned harder into the narrative that Patel was avoiding accountability. The stakes of that argument were enormous. Booker's broader point was that the FBI's mission is not just to respond to whatever political priority dominates the headlines. It is to protect the country across multiple threats: terrorism, public corruption, organized crime, cyber attacks, child trafficking, foreign espionage. In Booker's view, Patel had distorted those priorities in ways that could have long-term consequences. He accused Patel of making the Bureau less capable of preventing future crises. He said America was more vulnerable under Patel's leadership than before. Then Booker delivered the speech that turned the hearing from contentious into unforgettable. By this point, frustration had been building for nearly the entire exchange. Booker had watched Patel reject his premises, evade his questions, and push back aggressively. So he stopped asking questions and started delivering an indictment. He said Patel had overseen generational destruction of the FBI's institutional strength. He said career officials who had spent decades protecting the country were being discarded for political reasons. He said the Bureau was losing the very expertise that made it effective. And he warned that if a major national security failure happened in the near future, this period of mismanagement could be part of the reason why. Then came the line that froze the room. Booker told Patel that he did not believe he would be around much longer. He said this might be Patel's last oversight hearing. It wasn't just criticism. It was a direct prediction that Patel's position was becoming untenable. Booker framed it as a consequence of Patel's choices, aligning himself too closely with Donald Trump, prioritizing loyalty over principle, and damaging the institution he swore to serve. He even said he prayed Patel would rediscover his oath to the Constitution before it was too late. That's when Patel exploded. Up until that point, Patel had been defensive but controlled. He pushed back. He objected. He challenged Booker's premises. But when Booker questioned not just his performance, but his future, something shifted. Patel interrupted, saying Booker's speech was full of false information. He accused Booker of using inflammatory rhetoric that tears the country apart. His voice rose. His frustration was obvious. He was no longer speaking like a witness under questioning. He was speaking like someone who felt personally attacked and had decided he wasn't going to sit there and take it. Booker instantly fired back. He reminded Patel that his time had expired. He said Patel did not get to decide when senators speak. In one of the hearing's most memorable lines, Booker said, "The people tell me what my time is." It was a direct rebuke, not just to Patel's interruption, but to what Booker saw as Patel's broader arrogance. The exchange quickly devolved into both men talking over each other. The chairman had to intervene, reminding everyone that he had warned against crosstalk earlier in the hearing. The room was on edge. For a few moments, it looked like the hearing might collapse into pure shouting. But once order was restored, Patel got something he clearly wanted: uninterrupted time to respond. And this is where he attempted to seize back control of the narrative. Instead of focusing on the allegations or the lawsuits, Patel pivoted hard to results. He began rattling off numbers, lots of them. He said that under his leadership, the FBI had arrested 23,000 violent felons in just 7 months. He said agents had seized 6,000 weapons. He said they had arrested hundreds of traffickers, identified thousands of missing children, and taken massive quantities of fentanyl, cocaine, and meth off the streets. He framed those numbers as proof that the FBI was not weakened under his watch. On the contrary, he argued, it was stronger and more aggressive than ever. Patel also highlighted national security gains. He pointed to increases in counterintelligence arrests tied to China, Russia, and Iran. He said threats at both the southern and northern borders were being actively addressed. He argued that critics like Booker were ignoring measurable successes because they were more interested in scoring political points than protecting public safety. In Patel's telling, the real story wasn't chaos inside the Bureau. It was operational success being deliberately overshadowed by partisan attacks. That defense mattered. Because for Patel's supporters, those statistics offered a powerful rebuttal. They could point to arrests, seizures, and operational wins as evidence that Patel was delivering concrete results. They could argue that Booker was conflating personnel disputes with broader institutional collapse. They could say that reform always looks messy to the people who benefited from the old system. Patel clearly understood that, and his response was crafted to resonate beyond the hearing room. He wasn't just answering Booker. He was speaking to viewers, allies, critics, and the White House itself. And that's what made this hearing so consequential. It wasn't simply a disagreement over facts. It was a clash between two fundamentally different stories about what the FBI is and what it should be. Booker's story was about institutional erosion, politicized firings, and a dangerous hollowing out of expertise. Patel's story was about results, accountability, and a bureau finally being forced to prioritize real-world threats. Both men understood that perception matters almost as much as policy, and both were fighting to define reality in real time. But beyond the shouting and the headlines, this hearing revealed something deeper, a crisis of trust at the highest levels of American law enforcement. When senators openly accused the FBI director of misleading Congress, when lawsuits allege politically motivated firings, when the director himself says the country is safer than ever while critics warn of internal collapse, that's not normal bureaucratic friction. That's a sign of a system under enormous strain, and the uncertainty is far from over. The lawsuits Booker cited are still working their way through the courts. The claims about Patel's private comments remain contested. More oversight hearings are likely. More disclosures could emerge. And if Booker is right that pressure is building inside Washington, Patel may face even more intense scrutiny in the months ahead. On the other hand, if Patel continues posting strong operational numbers and retains political backing, he could survive this and emerge even stronger. That's what makes this moment so important. It may end up being remembered either as the beginning of Patel's unraveling or as the moment he proved he could withstand a full-scale political assault. One thing is undeniable. Something significant happened in that hearing room. The anger was real. The accusations were serious. The stakes were enormous. This wasn't political theater in the usual sense. It was a public collision between two men who represent very different visions of power, accountability, and public trust. And no matter which side you believe, the fallout from this confrontation is only just beginning to now the question shifts to you. Was Booker exposing a deeper crisis inside the FBI? Or was Patel right that this was a politically charged attack designed to damage him? Did Patel's numbers answer the concerns? Or did his refusals raise even more questions? Let me know what you think in the comments below, because this debate is far from settled. And if you want more deep dives into the biggest political clashes, hearing breakdowns, and behind-the-scenes power battles shaping the country right now, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next big story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.